So when you take a look, the drawing kind of made a linear start to it, going up to the top. Found a center line, it's a symmetrical piece, and just lined it up with the bottom of the paper down here, and just made a vertical line. If you do it on your own, still place something in there that you can see for that edge. And you can kind of just look at the shape of the object and try to build up the width of this and the overall proportion, so you have the height and the width and the depth going back, and that's going to give you that initial sketch. So some of these templates, as you go through them, just kind of making them, looking at the size of them, trying to estimate how big it's going to be in there, and just go ahead and place it in there. So something like this, and then looking at the reflection, I'm just going to go right up this again. I kind of set it down, but there's an edge, and if I move it up a bit, you can see a little bit of the imperfection of some of the glass. So I'm just going to lay a little bit of shadow in there, even though I'm just trying to get the lines in there, and then the reflections, or at least the depth of the sugar, come into here. And instead of using the same size template, just dropped it down a slight piece, and as long as it's on the vertical line, it gives me that section to it. So this becomes the sugar, and it's a little more free form. Actually, I'm just going to use a little bit of the template just to block it in, so you can see another way of trying to put this together, trying to find some of the edges already, and that shading going with the contour or across contour, building this up and just moving it up. Now when I move it up, it gets a little bit, I tapered it into another template size. So that's this piece. And same way with the shading, I'm just going to move this up a bit. And it gets up to the top. So when you look at it, it's a pretty quick way to lay that out. It makes it pretty easy. And then, again, going a little tapered for this piece here. And trying to take a look at the glass. So there's the first part, and just moving it up a bit, and building that second one up. So now you have another layer or rim there, and pretty quickly starts to build itself up in there. And taking a look at these templates up here, this one, the ellipses are a different one, so I went to a little larger size. I'll just kind of scooch up here a little bit. And just kind of taking a look at it, starting from the beginning, and just building this one up right here. And it's not an entire shape, but there's that piece for it. And lining that up. Take a little bit of a look. I might change it a little on this part. Maybe bump it down a bit. So taking a look at the metallic part and just kind of looking at it, seeing where the heavy side's going to be. And again, just shading a little bit of that. And it gets up to this part, just as long as everything's lined up there. Line that one up. And this one's a little bit smaller. So just line that one up there. That lets me build at least the base of it up for that next ring. It gets a little confusing to see. This will just be the beginning of it. kind of starts the metallic part. And then for the outer shell, just a little bit larger here. Putting that shell in there. Since it's on the same plane, I'm just going to arch this around. So it takes a little getting used to try to see those edges. And then using this top one for the lid section up here. So this one, so again there's the edge. And just kind of shading a little bit, dropping it down. That section there. And here, if you can imagine the center, you can't really see, but it's radiating this direction. And the lid has the opening that wraps around, and it's curved. And you can do it without the template, but just showing you that extra style there, that gives you a pretty good outline from that to the top. And then to do the glass sides, just going to go ahead and take the tangent of these. These are tapered in. And then took the engineer scale just to get, because it has an equal measurement, down at the tangent of this elliptical shape, and put all these points. I'm going to take an arbitrary center line here, and just connect this to these pieces right there. So this will give me a little bit more of the radius coming around. This is just a section like that. So all these wrapping around will give me a feeling that it's in perspective coming around as well. So that's for that one. This one. And this one. So with these parts here, so that'll, let me take this. I'll start with the middle one again, just to show this piece. And take this out here. And again, it's just kind of pushing it a little bit mathematically so you can see it. And if you do it freehand, at least you know that these are getting smaller as they go around just by using that, arching that elliptical shape. It's just a matter of it's still early in the sketch, so I can lay this out. And they're all wrapped here. And these kind of taper, so I'm going to follow this ellipse with here and let it come down and bend. And that goes at the top as well, so here's, I already have a sketch of this one. And what's actually happening is it's arching itself. Have a pretty basic beginning of the linear section. You can see how the sugar kind of tapers, so if I do it pretty geometric, I'll be showing the top of that. That's going to give me plenty to work with here.